Welcome to Two Wrongs Make a Right with Austin and Bob. Two guys who are usually wrong but always think they're right.
Speaking of being right and wrong, I just saw an article recently that had some problems with it.
What's on it?
It's called the 50 Best Comedians of the 21st Century. So
Comedians, stand-up comedians?
Well, yeah, it says comedians, but it's in the little intro paragraph it says from stand-ups to hilarious faces. So basically, just the funniest comics of the era. So I guess it's like a kind of hits all those genres a little bit.
So like 2000s?
Yeah, so basically for the last 19, 20 years basically in this case. And so I was looking at it, I was like, all right, obviously we're fans of comedy. So I was just kind of curious who was on there and where they might be at. So I started scrolling down the list and number 38, which is the first one that kind of caught me, Key and Peele. And
38?
Yeah, I was like, wow, 30. Those guys are, maybe, but then it's like maybe they only did, they haven't done a lot. They did the one show, but maybe that's why. In 20 years, they've only done that one real big thing, which is hilarious. But that seemed pretty low for me too, because they're amazing.
It could be that it's just the show for them, I guess, because I never heard them before, and then after they've kind of done, I think,
more serious stuff.
Yeah, I think Peele has done, the horror stuff.
Yeah.
But and then I don't know what Keegan-Michael Key. I saw him on Parks and Rec for a little bit, and like just kind of popping in places.
Yeah, so I was like, maybe it's just the body of work for them has got them as low as it is, but still, that's their show is so good. I mean, it's I still watch it sometimes. Like I'll just watch little clips here and there. It's just there's so many funny clips in there that just live on. It's like
it's such a good variety of stuff too. It's not just one topic. Which
it's not just like race.
I thought a lot of those sketch shows. It's not just race or gender jokes or whatever. Like it's such a good variety.
Yeah, it's a good mix. So I saw them at 38. I was like, all right, maybe this list is just, stacked above them, so that's why they're down so low. All right, so I keep scrolling down a little more. Number 31, Amy Schumer, which, I don't have many opinions on Amy Schumer, but do I think she's above those two guys and that show they have? I don't think so.
I know comedy is subjective, yeah, but I don't think her show was mainly sex jokes the whole time, and that's usually her stand-up routine, too.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
And I've always heard that she stole jokes. Like I've always seen stuff on YouTube of like her telling a joke, maybe with a little different delivery.
Yeah, and I know she did some, a couple of romantic comedies, and like I don't think I finished that one called Trainwreck with Bill Hader.
Yeah.
The only reason I want, LeBron James in it, I was like, this could be, like Bill Hader, so this could be good. I didn't even think I finished it. It's just like, and by the way, the funny parts of it weren't her. Like Bill Hader was really funny, and like the scenes with LeBron James were funny. Like she had a couple funny things, but she's not like, oh man, this is a great Amy Schumer.
She's funny. I mean, yeah, she's funny for sure, but I mean, like as far as being ahead of Key and Peele or whatever, I don't know. And I remember there was like a scene in that movie, like there was like it was like that typical gender joke. It's like, oh my god, this guy's calling me back. What do I do?
Yeah,
throw the phone away or something like that.
It definitely wasn't. It wasn't breaking ground. You're right. It wasn't like breaking ground new material. This is like, all right, we've heard all this stuff before.
Yeah.
Now I should clarify on this list. I forgot to mention this. So this list is from The Guardian, which I know is like a UK thing, but this is The Guardian US. So it's not like this is just British stuff. There is a mix of like both, but like I just want to say it's not like these are only people in London or in England think about comedians.
Yeah, but I mean English comedians can be.
What I'm saying, my point is, I'm just saying the people making the list. I don't think we're just basing it on what they have over there. It's like I'm sure it was. I think it's a good mix of everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, right ahead of Amy Schumer at 30 was Russell Brand. That's when I hear the British thing. I was like, Russell Brand, he has some funny times, but it's like he's that much ahead of Key and Peele, and I'm like, all right, now I got a little problem.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've seen him in some funny stuff, but I can't say he's when I talk to people, I'm not just basing solely off my opinion. Of course, you have like-minded people as your friends, but I never really see nobody really raves like, hey, did you catch the new Russell Brand stuff? No.
Yeah, and that's the thing with comedians, right? Like you look at it, it's like a lasting impression on you, right? Like what I'm saying. Let's go back to Key and Peele. Like that show, it was like 5 seasons. So it wasn't just like they did 1 or 2. That was a long, lot of episodes of really funny stuff over like 5 years, right? And that's lasting on me. I'm gonna remember that, so many things from that. Whereas like Russell Brand, the stuff he's done, is that memorable to you? Like, oh, I remember that great. No, not really, right?
Yeah.
Same with Amy Schumer.
I mean. Right, yeah. I mean, Amy Schumer, there was one of like her earlier Comedy Central stand-ups that I laughed at because all of her jokes were kind of new, and the sexual stuff was funny then, and then it kind of just gets beaten into the ground after that.
Yeah.
And
so
then Russell Brand, like I think Sarah Marshall was where Forgetting Sarah Marshall is where I remember his performance. And I think they did that spinoff, Get Into the Greek, and he's a funny guy, but
yeah,
And again, so is Amy Schumer, but it's like when you kind of do those same bits, it just
it just as far as like cultural relevance, like I feel like Key and Peele is going to make a much longer lasting impression than either one of those two people we just talked about.
Yeah. I mean, if there was like, oh, they're coming back for a new sketch show, I think people would kind of flip out about it.
Yeah. Whereas exactly. So then right ahead of him, Aziz Ansari, who I know we both like a lot. He's a lot of funny stuff over the years, right?
I do love Aziz. Did you see his recent stand-up though?
No, I haven't seen the recent one. I haven't seen the new one that came out.
He kind of goes into like this guilt trip thing. Like, he's still funny. I love the dude, but he kind of goes in this whole guilt trip thing about how he's more aware of, since the whole that woman, like they had that bad date or whatever, and she tried to turn it into a sexual assault thing.
Yeah, and this article talks about that, in here. So because they have like a little paragraph about each person, and that's kind of why he's as low as he is. I think they're saying he kind of got docked for what happened in 2018 with that woman that they had a date, and then I guess afterwards she didn't fight him at the time, but she I guess had regrets about it later on, and so she
like kind of came out. It sounded like she had a bad time. It's like that's not. He didn't force himself on you. That's not right. He shouldn't be docked for that. But
yeah,
and he talks about that in that special, and he's like now that I know all this stuff, I wouldn't have even. There was some stuff in Parks and Rec that I was watching that I wouldn't have even done. I was like, don't guilt trip me, man. Like, now, if I'm going to go back and watch old Parks and Rec, like I'm supposed to feel bad about a joke that took place in a different generation or whatever. I'm like, you're going to tell me that you wouldn't have done a joke, like, let's say it's the second season in, like, you would have said no and just ruined your career? No, come on, get out of here.
Yeah, I do think
it's a little high horse for me.
Well, I think he was, as we've seen with comedians, you can get your whole career sidetracked, with something like that happening. So I do wonder if he was just worried about this incident happened with this woman, so now, like, my career's gone, so, like, how do I get back out there? I can't, like, dodge this issue. Do I have to address the issue, face on? So maybe he was just, because I haven't listened to it, but maybe he was just trying to, like, all right, how can I approach this without just act like it didn't happen?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely acknowledges it. He doesn't really go into detail about it because, again, it's not like he forced himself on her or something like that. And even the girl herself didn't say anything like that. It's just like basically she just regretted it. But it was just when like he kind of looked back. He's like, even Parks and Rec. I was like, man, I love that show. Like, if I go back and watch that, like it's not like I'm allowed to go back and watch, let's say, Mel Brooks comedies or something. It's like, it's a different. It's comedy to me. There's certain lines you can, like, if you're just being hateful to be hateful or something like that, then yeah, sure. But if it's funny, if it's comedy subjective, anyway, like we just talked about, I mean, obviously people would change this list anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
But to me, like, if it's just making a joke or poking fun and it's pretty harmless, then let it go. I mean, I understand everybody's sensitive, but come on.
Yeah, it sounds like he maybe went too far on that line. He should maybe, you got to be who you are. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to try to, guilt everybody.
Right.
You were the one that had something happen. Even though that wasn't a bad thing, but, it's not everyone else's
even in his earlier
fault.
stand-ups. Yeah, even his earlier stand-up, you get the vibe. He's a good dude. You know what I mean? It's not like... So, I mean, to say, like, your older jokes, you shouldn't have gone there with them. It's like, no, man, they're funny at the time. They're still funny.
Yeah, don't apologize for that.
Yeah. And then don't guilt trip people kind of thing. Like me, like, I'm watching an old episode, be like, oh, wow, that's offensive nowadays. Yeah. The show's not that old.
And so his whole thing of getting in trouble, by the way, it kind of got caught up with the next person I'm going to talk to you about. A couple spots ahead, number 25 on the list, Louis C.K. And so, let's just talk about his we'll talk about his comedy second, but remember the Louis C.K. thing happened, all the Me Too movement was going on, and that's right when, like, Aziz thing was, like, right after that. And so I do think part of the reason Aziz got as much hate as he got for his little incident, which didn't seem like that serious of an incident, there was no charge or anything, she just didn't like the date, is because it was on the heels of these other bad people doing really bad things to women. And I do feel like he kind of got lumped in with, like, what Louis did, and so, like, oh, you're both going to get blackballed out of the industry now, right?
Yeah. He definitely got lumped in. I mean, that was he's like a victim of circumstance, I guess you could call.
Yeah.
But even then, his wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, with Louis, it's like...
Yeah, Louis, so I don't know what... I mean, it was 2017 Louis was, so I guess it was a little bit before Aziz, but yeah, just all the stuff where he was just exposing himself to these other female comedians, and, like, I guess a lot of times it was taken as a joke, but then it wasn't a joke, and he was just playing with himself, and it's like, all right, that's weird. That's a problem. You cannot do that.
It is a weird... It's a weird one. I guess he did come out and just say he did it, which I was surprised. Because, that's one of those stories where it's so strange that you're thinking, oh, well, he'll probably deny it. And, like, that sounds like it could be fake, made up, yeah. Because it's just too out there. And he's like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I will appreciate, that's the part I do appreciate about it. Obviously, it doesn't, like, forgive his behavior, but at least, he could have done what other people do. They could dance around the story. We have to wait for months and months to find out what actually happened. Has to go to court or whatever. He just come out, you know what? I did this. I shouldn't have done it probably, but which is not, doesn't make up for it, but at least he don't leave everybody in suspense of what, we don't think these women are liars now. No, he took it on himself. He said, yeah, it was me. They're not making this up. I did this, which I do appreciate that aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, that if there's anything that came out of it is at least that. And hopefully it puts things in perspective for other people in power. Like, you just watch your ass, dude.
Yeah.
Be a decent human person.
Horrible. So I do think that's part of why he's low on the list. I mean, it says in the article that's why he's, he got docked for that, which I definitely agree. He should get docked for that. And we haven't seen him since then.
His comedy, his comedy is still.
But yeah, if we go back to
stand-up's still good.
If we go back to his comedy, yeah, like if it wasn't for that happening, I definitely think he'd be much higher on this list because he'd
probably be top 10, really.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. He's so many good comedies, and he's one of those guys that all the comedians love. He's like comedian. They all love him like so much. Like he's like the guy. Like some other guys like Dane Cook. Other comedians will talk bad about him. You've heard that before. They steal jokes or they don't have original material.
Well, yeah. That was Dane Cook stealing his jokes, I thought.
Well, I know, but there's other people who don't like Dane Cook. Dane Cook's not considered like a popular among other comedians.
I got you.
Because his stuff he does to get popular wasn't maybe, he maybe exploited certain things, whatever. But it doesn't matter. The point is, everyone loves Louis, and they did love him until this incident, obviously. So now he's kind of
yeah. And obviously, everyone is an overstatement now that we know all this stuff. There were a lot of female comedians who didn't like him.
I guess that's true. And so, so we haven't seen him really in the last couple of years since that incident, which is justified, I'd say.
Yeah, and I saw Chappelle's new comeback. He said Louis is trying to get back in the mix, and they're kind of like blackballing him, which it's hard, man. That's hard.
Yeah, it's tough.
Because, he did something very traumatizing, but he didn't, I don't know. It's hard to say that he didn't hurt anybody because hurting somebody mentally can be just as bad as physically in some instances,
Yeah, I do wonder if it started as a joke, his thing, and then he took it too far, or the whole thing was just like maybe like a fetish thing where this is what he wanted to do.
It was a fetish thing for sure, dude. Because he was like going, he was full on, man.
He took it to a different level.
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying that he just did that. And again, you can imagine being that woman like in that hotel room. He's a big guy. Like that's kind of scary, I guess, to be there with him, not knowing. Well, and he's a powerful guy too. Like he's famous.
Yeah. He could destroy your career, right?
Yeah.
Like what if you were an upcoming stand-up comic, you walk in there and I'm like, hey, sit down. And I just start baiting it.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, are you going to get up and leave, even though like I could get you a venue?
Yeah, it's scary.
Like you could be my opening at Madison Square. It could change your life. But you got to watch this first.
I hope he didn't do that to someone. I mean, maybe that is part of the story. I don't know if he did that way, but that could have been what he did. That's how he got him to stay and not freak out. And, because there was no charges. That was like years ago he did this. It's like they didn't press charges. So maybe they were scared of him doing something.
Well, yeah, the charges and all that stuff is kind of obviously he did it and it's wrong. So it's just, he didn't. We already know he did it.
Yeah,
so.
I just wonder though if the reason they didn't speak up sooner is because they were worried about getting blackballed in the industry or whatever. He has power over them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So anyways, a couple spots ahead of him. Remember, this is the Guardian list, so there is some British whatever in here, but 6 spots ahead of Louis. At number 19, Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais is pretty funny.
Ricky Gervais is pretty funny, right? But again, we're in America here. Personally, I'm not gonna put him, even with the incidents, I'm not gonna put him in a comedy standpoint ahead of Louis, Aziz, Key and Peele. I don't think he's ahead there. For me, he's not ahead of those people.
Yeah, he's
so. I know he's been around a long time.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, and he's been involved in a lot of shows that maybe you don't even know kind of thing. I mean, obviously he's the reason The Office is over here and the legend that it is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just don't know. I mean,
but it's not like he was on The Office over here, so I guess I get that.
But again, this is like a worldwide list, so we can't just say, oh, it's just about what he's done,
And his humor, a lot of times he says some stuff that kind of walks the line, I guess, if you will. He doesn't catch any flack for it.
Yeah, I think
which is nice.
I feel like almost all comedians do that. I think. They all go to the line. Some go past the line, obviously. But they all go pretty close to the line. That's kind of what makes.
I always think that they're too afraid to go to that line now. And
nowadays,
Ricky Gervais doesn't seem to be, and which I do appreciate.
You're gonna have a big problem with the next one on my list, and I have a big problem with this. Might be the biggest problem on the entire list, honestly. Number 15, top comics of the century. Number 15, Dave Chappelle.
15.
Are you serious?
Are you serious?
Do you think there's 14 people funnier than him in the last 20 years and have done more comedy-wise than him? What is going on?
15.
15. I was like, oh my gosh.
No, okay. I mean, don't ignore Chappelle's show for a second. His stand-ups, everybody who didn't even watch stand-up watched his stand-ups because they're hysterical, man. What in the world?
Now, again, this is a subjective list. This isn't one writer. This is like a group of writers from The Guardian that came up with this list. So it's not like this one person's opinion. And they do, like I said, they do kind of explain on here of some of why the rankings are. And the first part of his is his reputation has been damaged lately by some unpleasant material on gender in some of his comedy specials. So that's why he got docked, I guess.
Oh my god! It's his most recent one.
I haven't heard that one yet, but I know everyone's talking about it. No, everyone's been talking about it.
Dude, it's not. Oh my god!
So,
I can't believe that would be a knock on him. It's clear that here's my problem with that, dude. Real 1 second. It's clearly comedy. Clearly comedy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's not up there. He's not dropping sexist terms or whatever. He's so clearly joking. He's a stand-up comic. How do you dock him for that?
That's the part that's the part of this whole comedy thing. Everything in comedy, like we talk about going to the line, going past the line. At the end of the day, it's comedy. They're not like, these people don't hate these genders or whatever they're talking about, race, whatever they're discussing. They're making jokes. They're poking fun at it. They're trying to make it light a lot of times. Like all his stuff, all the Chappelle Show stuff. There's a lot of like race stuff in there. He's not like saying he hates this culture, right? He's trying to make it more light. Those sensitive topics that we can't talk about. He should.
That's why you watch that stuff for kind of a reprieve from all this stuff that's going on too. It's like, what's left to talk about then? It's like, oh, I opened up my Klondike bar and it was thinner than a normal one. What's up with that? What are you supposed to talk about?
Yeah, you can't have anything. You can't go anywhere at all. Like I haven't seen this new special, but everyone's talking about it. And based on what I'm hearing, I don't think the controversy should be there about his new special. So it's like he's getting docked for that. And by the way, let's say it did go too far, this new one. That really that docks him that far from all he's done in the last 20 years? Are you serious? The Chappelle Show is insane. He's had a ton of comedy specials, a couple good comedy movies even. I don't see how he's this far down the list.
It's one of those things too where the critics have taken their own hands to be like the social justice warriors. And I saw it got a 0% or something on Rotten Tomatoes, but then anybody I've spoken to about it is like, dude, it's probably his best stand-up since he's been back.
It's crazy. Yeah, I think it's on my list to watch, by the way.
Right. It's just one of those things, man. I can't believe that would knock him that far. And like I said, he's so obviously clearly joking.
Yeah. Well, we discussed this list, me and you a couple days ago, and I didn't tell you where he might be, but you assumed he'd definitely be at least probably in the top 5 or so, I think is what and I was thinking the same thing. So
yeah, I said I wouldn't be surprised if he's number 1, even though he had that huge hiatus, Yeah. Which that's the only knock I could really figure for him.
So 2 spots ahead of him, Sarah Silverman. 2 spots ahead of him. Okay, Sarah Silverman's funny. I've seen Sarah Silverman be funny. She's been around a long time, but is she 2 spots ahead of Dave Chappelle? Are you serious?
Here's the problem with the list is like anybody ahead of Dave Chappelle at 15 outside of maybe whoever's in the top 5.
Yeah, a few people, yeah.
I'm going to have a problem with.
So it's like,
Sarah Silverman's obviously funny and she's been around a while. It makes sense. It makes sense for her to be up there at 12 or even the top 10.
Chappelle just needs to be ahead of her. That's the point.
Chappelle's Chappelle. Like, yeah.
Yeah, you can't have her ahead of Chappelle. I'm sorry, you can't. As much as I think she's funny and some stuff, and like there's no way, like the amount of work he's done and his body of work, I just don't. Even like the Key and Peele thing, like I don't know how she's that far ahead of Key and Peele. I don't know.
It's
kind of crazy.
I mean, I could see her being ahead of Key and Peele.
That far, though?
We're going to argue that. Yeah. Key and Peele are very underrated on that. Yeah. But, I mean, I could easily see her. Because, like I said, she's been around. She's been consistently funny for a long time.
Yeah, she has. So let's just move ahead. Right in front of her, at number 12, someone that we both like, I know, Amy Poehler, number 12. So...
Well, she's not a stand-up.
That's the thing. This list is comics. It's not just stand-ups. They call it comedians. They says comics. So it's a mix of, like, TV show stuff and comedy, stand-up stuff.
I love Amy Poehler. She's great on SNL. I love Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec may be my favorite.
It's definitely one of my favorites for sure.
Time. I mean, obviously she's funny, but like this is like we just went from like Key and Peele seemed like they were down pretty far for not being stand-up or whatever, and now we have somebody who's not stand-up. Do they count SNL? Is that what they're saying? Is stand-up?
Yeah, the SNL stuff and then Parks and Rec, obviously, and she did she's done a couple of those movies like her and Tina Fey, like so all right, I can see that. She has a lot of comedy, different avenues she's been in, which I get it.
That's true. She does have more avenues than Key and Peele.
And let me just say before I say anything negative that comes across negative,
Key and Peele a lot.
The thing that comes across before I say something negative about Amy Poehler, I want to say I love Amy Poehler. I watched a show in way back in the day before probably before you even knew what comedy was, called Upright Citizens Brigade. It was like it was 98, 99, 2000. Yeah. 3 seasons it was on. So before this list, obviously, but the point is that was 20 years ago, and I thought she was the only woman on that show of the 4 people on there, and she was awesome. She was great. So I've liked her for a long time, but having her 3 spots ahead of Dave Chappelle, I got problems with that. I got big problems. She's that far ahead of Aziz too. She's her and Aziz. Can we have her and Aziz right next to each other, like right same place?
They could be right next to each other. Yeah, I think what gives her a big up is SNL. I mean, live comedies. It's not that comedy's easy to begin with, but live comedy's pretty hard, and she did a great job at it.
I just thought of something with this list. Maybe this is this list is that the problem that we're seeing with this list. We're just looking at it from a comedy point of view, right? We're not trying to judge everyone's character and everything, but maybe the people that make the list are, because as we know about Amy Poehler, there's never been anything negative about her, right? There's never been any controversy or anything bad. She's never gone any racial places, right? She's always just like above board. So maybe she gets bonus points for that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I'm not looking at this list like you are, so I can't directly see what the cons are for these people.
Yeah, but I mean, it just looks like basically so that each one of the people that we mentioned, Louis and Aziz and Dave Chappelle, like they all were docked for something that controversial happened, whereas she doesn't have that.
It's such BS for Chappelle too, because it's like you're being docked for your comedy.
Yeah,
I mean, Louis C.K. and Aziz or whatever, which Aziz is his one's BS anyway, but to be docked for your off the field, I guess I kind of understand the character of it. But then you're being docked for your comedy if you're Chappelle. This is this whole list is the Chappelle conundrum.
Yeah,
that's what it should be called.
I agree with you. Right ahead of Amy Poehler, another SNL character, SNL person, Kristen Wiig, right ahead of her.
She's pretty funny.
She is pretty funny, but again, we're not going to keep repeating ourselves. But obviously, she's not funny as Dave Chappelle. And
I don't know that she should be ahead of Amy Poehler either.
Yeah. So
just because if you're talking body of work. I mean, Amy Poehler's been in so much funny stuff and like TV shows and stuff. And although I will say most things Kristen Wiig are in, I laugh at.
I agree too. I do too. She's funny. Again, where she is on the, this, I agree she should be on the list, but I definitely think she would, some of the people we mentioned probably be ahead of her, but
it makes me think of of course one of her biggest movies was Bridesmaids, and now I kind of hope that Melissa McCarthy is somewhere on this list because I've seen her movies are pretty damn funny.
Melissa McCarthy not on the list, by the way, not anywhere on the list.
Wow, she's hysterical, man. Her and what was that, The Heat with her and Sandra Bullock? That movie's funny as hell.
Yeah, it's a funny movie. I've seen it. Number 8 on the list, Larry David, which we don't have to say much about him because he's an icon. We don't have to go on Larry David.
Okay, but I mean, Larry David's great, but I don't
Curb Your
think
Enthusiasm. Don't even try to come at me.
I love Curb Your Enthusiasm, but that's his body. That's it. Like that's his body of work.
Okay, but that's how impressive his body is. All right, it's
that's
impressive.
How impressive his body is. That also, but listen, that also comes in from like the late '90s to the 2000s. You're going to tell me he carried that whole.
I get you. And like I said, and again, remember, he's not getting any credit on this list for Seinfeld because Seinfeld was in the 90s, so he doesn't get any credit for that on this list. It's just from 2000 on. But still, I think Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's been so many seasons of it, and it's just so much like quotable things, and like, just that whole attitude of like just being dumped on in life all the time and making a joke out of it. It just resonates with everybody.
Dude, I love the show. I'm not saying I don't love Larry David, but I'm just saying it seems pretty high when you compare it to the other people. Like,
yeah, I agree. I do agree
everything
with that.
I read about Larry David is like he never did Seinfeld because he hated acting, and like he's in this one show, and I saw him in that one movie. I don't really know.
Yeah, I remember that movie.
It wasn't really
it wasn't memorable.
Yeah. Outside of that, that it did occur, but again, to be ahead of Amy Poehler or even Kristen Wiig and stuff, like these people have been doing comedy the whole time, whereas he's even taken a break for however many seasons from Curb.
Yeah, and again, the main one, him ahead of Chappelle is crazy because if you're talking about just going TV show,
I can't do the Chappelle.
I just mean like because if you're only like you said, his only thing Larry David has is the TV show. He doesn't have that plus movies plus stand-up. Right, all he has is the show.
Yeah.
So just the show versus show, it's like all right, well, Chappelle and people have the show plus other stuff. So I definitely would have them, above him. I agree with you, but he definitely should be on this list.
He deserves to be on the list for sure, but I don't know if he deserves to be that high because even the mockumentary thing on the HBO, like where that like inspired Curb or whatever, was came out in the late '90s.
Yeah, and as much as I loved Larry David, I would not say he's the number 8 best comedian of the last 20 years. I would not say that. So I will agree with you there. He's
that's only based on him only doing Curb. Obviously, if he did other stuff that was funny, it probably wouldn't be a big deal. But
all right, we're gonna make a big jump up to number 3 on the list.
Whoa,
Chris Rock.
Number 3.
That's first one. That's that one. I personally feel pretty good about that. Chris Rock being being up there top 5. I'm definitely fine with that.
He had a big controversy, I think, with that Tambourine on Netflix, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, he did. You're right. He did have controversy. I guess
he was talking about shootings in it, I think, and he kind of he made a good point, but
yeah,
a lot of people took it personally, I think.
Yeah, I guess this list to give him a pass for his controversy for whatever reason.
I guess so, because I mean, I knew people who were like pissed off about him making a joke about the shootings or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, and he made a, you know how comedians like sometimes can make a point while telling comedy. He kind of did make a point while he's telling the comedy, but I know people were pissed about that. But yeah, I'm surprised there was no controvery over that.
Yeah. So he's had a number of good, obviously comedy specials. He's been in some good movies in the last 20 years, funny movies. So I'm cool with him at number 3. Right ahead of him, we're both probably gonna have an issue with this. I hope you don't even know what this person is. Number 2, Steve Coogan.
Steve Coogan.
Do you know who that is? I hope you don't.
I think I've seen him.
Okay, let me tell you who Steve Coogan is. This will click in right away for you. From a movie that we both love, Steve Coogan. He plays the director in Tropic Thunder.
What?
That is Steve
He's
Coogan.
on there as top 50?
That is Steve Coogan. He's number 2 on this list. Now again, now, hold on. This is insane. Trust me. When he's besides the Chappelle being where he was, this is the one that was like, what is happening? Because this is the thing.
What?
I like Steve Coogan. Really funny in Tropic Thunder, and he is British, by the way. Remember, this is the Guardian paper, so maybe there's a bunch of British stuff that we don't know about. But I don't even care. You cannot say if this is a British only list, you want to put him up there. I'm fine. But it's not a British only list. He can't be number 2. I'm sorry. He cannot be ahead of all the people we talked about.
What is he? I'm trying to think of what he's done in the U.S. outside of, like a few spots I've seen him in movies here and there outside of Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, I don't think he's done much. I really don't. I think he's done some voiceover work maybe, or a couple.
I'm sure he's done voiceover work, but that doesn't equate to comedians for me.
Number 2.
Man, wow.
So that when I saw that one, I was thinking that I was misreading the list. I was like, all right, maybe I'm not understanding this list. But then you start to read this stuff.
Well,
it's
that's
like, all right.
okay, like you told me, what was Amy Schumer again? She's in the 30s or
31.
something?
31.
She's ahead of Steve Coogan. No problem. That's no problem.
I would definitely.
Why is she that far below him?
I would even put her ahead of him.
What is this?
I don't know. So he, again, if you want to put him on the list because he did a bunch of stuff that we don't know about, fine. Drop him down in the 30s or somewhere. We won't care. But like, you can't have number 2. Wow. You can't have him. He's right ahead of Chris Rock. He's right ahead of like all these people we mentioned. Like, come on. What's his body of work has got him that far ahead? That's a problem for me. And
You're
then
blowing my mind right now.
And then,
I don't even know if I want to hear number 1.
Number 1. If I'm going to give you, you know what? This might be entertaining. I'm going to give you take a couple. I haven't mentioned anyone yet, and I'll give you one hint, and then you can try a couple of guesses on who number 1 is. Number 1 is a woman.
Okay. Can I get some more information?
That's all you get is that she's a woman that we haven't mentioned yet.
That's all I get is she's
Try
a
to
woman.
think of last 20 years comedy, comedians that are huge and popular that we have not mentioned on this list. We've mentioned Schumer, Poehler.
See, like basically, like you've already mentioned, like we Schumer. I mentioned even Melissa McCarthy. We talked about you, Poehler.
Yeah, she's not here.
Is it Tina Fey?
It's Tina Fey, number 1 on the list.
Oh man.
So again, but let's just all preface this. We're not trying to defend ourselves. We're not trying to excuse ourselves, but we both like. I'm sure you like Tina Fey. She's been in a lot of funny stuff.
I love 30 Rock. I watched like I don't even. I mean I was gonna say I watched SNL with her, Amy Poehler and stuff. Like she's really funny, but number 1.
Number 1. Okay, so just try to think of all the comedy in the last 20 years, the comedians you've seen, or people, not even just you. This isn't just about us. People that have talked to you about comedy and things they like and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
she's the number 1 in the last 20
Kimmy
years.
Schmidt was funny. It kind of started to fade. Like I understand why they ended it, kind of thing. Kind of started to become redundant. Like her stuff's funny, but number 1,
you can't do it. You can't give her. You can, like I said, you can put her on this. You can put her in this list. You can give her top 10 because she's done so much. I would be okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
Because she did so much good stuff in SNL. She's done a lot of those good movies. She's like, she's a huge part of those movies, Mean Girls and stuff. She's done other comedy things. You can give her.
Mean Girls was 90s, wasn't it? Or was it early 2000s?
I don't actually know what year that was. Oh, 2004. It says on here. So
2004. Wow. Yeah, that is a pretty iconic movie.
Okay, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you can get her on here. I'm fine with her being on top 10 even. But ahead of every single comedian we've named and anyone we haven't named, I can't get there. I don't know how you get there.
Man. Yeah, I'm surprised. Again, it's a crime that Chappelle's not number 1, but
it's insane. So that was the list right there. So
was Will Ferrell on that list?
Will Ferrell? No Will Ferrell. Somehow.
What?
I'm trying to think of all his stuff that he came out with that we love. It's all in this last 20 years, right? He didn't have anything in the 90s.
Wow.
I guess his SNL
he was
stuff
on
was
SNL,
90s.
and he was on SNL through the early 2000s, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm a little confused. You're right. Why is he not on this list?
Nuts. He's regarded as like one of the best SNL cast members ever.
It almost makes you think, but
he dominated the early 2000s.
Yeah, it was
to 2010. What do you have? Anchorman.
Yeah, no, Anchorman was like 04. Yeah, the stuff was all around. That was all early. Yeah, you're right. That was all this century. Yeah,
Step Brothers, Blades of Glory.
Maybe
the guy dominated.
I want to say they made a mistake. He should be number 1. I mean, just on his good movies alone, or at least top 5. So how is he
The
not?
guy, yeah, I mean, the guy consistently dominated comedy.
See
And
that
he was even funny in Jan Silent Bob Strike Back. Or was that 98? Oh, no, I think that was a 2000s movie.
that was, I think it was 2000, 2001. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just started thinking about something. Maybe this list,
Wow.
maybe there's like a recency bias to this list because he's not, he hasn't had anything in the last couple of years, right? So maybe he's off the radar right now.
Yeah,
so,
his last few bombed.
But still, I mean, you have to know that this list is from this century. It's not from today. Like, it's not who's the funniest right now, what they have going on this year. So I don't know how he's on the list. He's the biggest omission for sure.
He's got to be the biggest omission. I mean, I obviously I didn't look at this list, so
Yeah.
there may be a couple other people.
So
But I am surprised at the comedians getting docked.
Yeah.
For being comedians, and then I'm also surprised at the people who aren't stand up being so high. I guess.
Yeah, I'm a little confused by that. And
But I don't know. When I hear comedian, I guess I default to stand up, but it probably really is a whole thing of body of work type thing.
Yeah, they call it say comics. So yeah, that comics includes comedic actors plus stand-up comedians. Like it's kind of like their whole body of work. But we
Yeah.
should mention the controversy stuff real quick. It's not like unless we don't know about one. It's not like Will Ferrell got docked for some huge right. He doesn't have. I don't know any
How
controversy.
was he not in
surrounding
the
him.
top 50, dude?
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like if he had a controversy that got him off the list, that they're punishing him for that. But I've never heard of any controversy surrounding him. So I don't know why he got just pushed off the entire list.
No, yeah, that's wild.
Don't forget, there's Steve Coogan's number 2 though, so that's all good. It's all
Steve
good.
Coogan's number 2.
Steve Coogan.
Yeah,
so,
I'd honestly I'd probably put Amy Poehler and Tina Fey in the top 10 for sure,
yeah.
and I'd have obviously Chappelle probably number 1.
Mm-hmm. He's gotta be. Yeah.
I don't know if I would put like Key and if we're going back to just who we talked about. I don't know if I'd put Key and P on the top 10
No,
just
I'd
because their
put-
body of work's not
Yeah, I
long
think
enough.
I put them top 20.
I mean, they're funny,
though.
but
I'd put them top 20. I would.
I'd probably say top 20.
And again, it is hard with people like we love Aziz and Louis. So we love those guys, but it is hard with their like Aziz. I'm not going to dock Aziz.
Aziz is easy, dude. He's top 10.
You're right. He's
Aziz
top
is
10.
easy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree with you. But Louis,
Louis
for
hard
us,
because his stuff was pretty.
his comedy before that would happen. I would add him in top 5. But then when his stuff happens, like, all right, you're a little bit of a scary person to me now, and you've been doing these bad things to these women. So I definitely would dock him and push him back. But just from a pure comedy standpoint, he's definitely top 10 for sure.
Yeah, if you're doing just pure comedy, right? If you're ignoring the outside life.
So that's our list. Had some problems. A couple things we agreed with. Chris Rock, number 3 is fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
The Will Ferrell mission.
Obviously,
pretty insane.
Seinfeld would be on there if it was anything, before 2000s.
Yeah,
but
for sure. Or all time.
I
It was
don't
all
know
time. Yeah.
Yeah, did he do a stand up in the 2000s?
I don't
think he
I
did.
think-
Maybe he did one.
I don't know. I don't know. if
And I know
did
he
or
had
not,
that Netflix. I watched his Netflix special, but it was kind of like a half stand up, half telling of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did watch that actually.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I thought you
I
think
think that
you
guy
think you'd
does
give
is
him like
good.
a tribute points. You'd give him right just for that because he hasn't done a lot this century. But you think they just give him like a tribute because of what he did before was so good. You think they throw him at like 48 just so he gets like a brownie
Yeah.
point. But I guess they didn't do that.
How great is Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
You know what? You know what I love about that show is like if anybody else did that show, you watch it and you're like you wouldn't watch it.
Yeah, I mean it's not
The fact, yeah.
if you break it down to what it actually is, like what actually goes into it, it's like, all right, there's not a lot here. Like, the idea was like good, probably to have him with another famous comedian driving around. But then it's like when you watch the show, it's like, all right, there's not a lot of production stuff that gone into making this like a big. We didn't do a lot of planning here.
Yeah, there's a lot of camera work and stuff like
I just
that.
mean there's
But
no
yeah,
planning
as far
of
as
the
like
idea.
a scripted, yeah, like there's no format to it, I guess, if you will. They just go.
Yeah,
I mean, if it was anybody else doing that show, maybe a couple other comics or TV personalities could pull that off. Like maybe Conan or something could pull that off because he's kind of off the wall,
Yeah, because we talked about it before, but like just the idea makes so much sense because the pitch is like, all right, it's going to be me. Like the first episode was me and Jim Carrey going out for a drink or going out for coffee. It's like, all right, when he pitched that to somebody, it's like, all right, now we see how they got picked up immediately. That sounds amazing. 2 of the funniest people of all times. But then like when you watch some of the episodes, it's just like they're just sitting at the table, not talking about anything in particular. Just
I would
literally
love.
talk. It's just
I tell
crazy.
you what, I would love to see like the cut content from those shows of just like sipping coffee and like nothing's happening.
Well,
You know what I mean?
if some of the stuff that's on it made the show, then what got cut? That's a good point.
Well, and yeah, you can tell a lot of the comedians on there who didn't come from his time are like intimidated by him.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
That's what makes it kind of tough to watch. Like, the ones I like to watch are the ones with the older, people.
His era,
like,
yeah.
like Norm Macdonald, and
80s,
people,
90s.
and
Eddie Murphy one was most recent.
and Michael Richards, people that people he knows been around, and then other ones like younger people, even like the one I watched Seth Rogen like not too long ago. Seth
But you can
Rogen's
tell
not.
he even said he was nervous.
Yeah, he was just nervous, and they just you could tell they didn't have a great vibe, and so like it wasn't. It's just like there's nothing here, and it's like, all right,
Well,
why is this making the show though? Why don't we cut some of this
There's no
out?
there's no history with him, I guess, so it kind of makes it well, and that goes with the whole show not being formatted thing. You know what I mean? I mean, if he had a format behind it or something, or
Yeah,
a body of work that he could refer to with Rogan, like, hey man, how was Superbad, or how was
Yeah.
like what was it like working on these films, or then maybe like those interviews would be more interesting. But it's what makes his other interviews so great is
Yeah.
the fact that it's not formatted, like
And-
with the older guys, like
yeah.
with Carey or Murphy or
yeah, and like you said, it's not like he plans like that good questions to ask the people. He doesn't seem like he preps for the show at all. Seinfeld, he just shows up and he just wings whatever happens. Like he doesn't like,
Yeah.
let me ask a couple good questions I can think of about this guy's
Yeah.
movie or something.
no one else he couldn't pull that off. He just couldn't.
Yeah. So I think we've proved today that if you ever need expert advice in comedy, obviously we're the guys to go to, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much an expert in everything that I talk about.
Are we not the
That's-
foremost
that's a
authorities on
fact.
comedy, especially though? I mean, if you're looking for comedy, where are you going besides here?
Oof.
And this is it,
I
right?
didn't even recommend anything. This is it.
Right. So if you want to check out more like comedy next time, you have to tune in to the next episode.